The warm afternoon sun glinted off the polished glass of the courthouse as Officer Jake Turner strode confidently toward the parking lot, convinced he was on the verge of a breakthrough. He had just apprehended a suspect in a string of downtown thefts that had plagued the city for weeks. Every step echoed in his mind like a victory chant. This is going to make headlines, he thought, allowing the anticipation to swell in his chest. As he marched through the busy streets, his mind replayed the tips he had received over the past week. They had spoken of a tall man, black, in his 40s, seen fleeing from various crime scenes. The description had been vague enough to be applied to many, but in Jake's mind, the pieces fell into place, blurry, hastily gathered evidence that created a picture he was determined to justify. With a firm grip on the cuffed man beside him, Marcus Hale, the officer felt an unshakable sense of righteousness. Yet, as they approached the courthouse, the weight of Marcus's dignified presence began to penetrate Jake's growing confidence. Dressed in a tailored charcoal suit with polished shoes, the man carried a leather briefcase that looked far too elegant for someone caught in an act of crime. As they walked through the glass doors into the echoing foyer of the courthouse, Marcus turned his head slightly, assessing his surroundings, his eyes sharp and assessing, but calm. Asterisk, you're making a mistake. Asterisk, Marcus said firmly, his voice steady and devoid of any hint of panic. Asterisk, I'm a civil rights attorney. You've got the wrong man. Asterisk. To Jake, this was just another criminal attempting to spin a narrative. He glanced at his partner, Officer Derrick, who stood to the side with an expression of confusion. Asterisk, yeah, sure. We've heard that one before. Asterisk, Jake retorted dismissively, tightening his grip on Marcus's arm. The man's composure, however, only served to deepen Jake's initial conviction. Asterisk, this is not the time for indignation. Marcus, asterisk, Jake said as they approached the front desk. Asterisk, I just have to get through this process. The description fits. Asterisk, asterisk, description. Asterisk, Marcus echoed, his voice cutting through the rising tension. Asterisk, you mean the flimsy outline that suggests nothing? How can you justify an arrest based on nothing more than a vague description? You're entrenched in bias. Asterisk, the officer felt a flicker of uncertainty. Asterisk, I was just doing my job. Multiple witnesses said they saw someone who fits your description. Asterisk, they moved forward, navigating through the busy corridors into the courtroom, where the air was thick with expectation. People shuffled in their seats as the officer led Marcus toward the front, whispers rippling through the crowded space. Jake carried with him an air of bravado, puffing his chest slightly as if he had just delivered the catch of the year to his superiors. But something began to gnaw at him as he saw the looks of curiosity and disbelief on the faces of the crowd, looks that seemed to question whether they were witnessing a simple case or something more. Asterisk, looks like he caught another one. Asterisk, someone murmured in the gallery, their voice low but loud enough for the officer to catch. He tried to muster a smirk but could feel the corners of his mouth faltering, while Marcus remained unflinched. He leaned in toward the officer as they neared the bench. Asterisk, you're going to regret this. Asterisk, he said, almost inaudibly, but the words hung in the air like a challenge. The judge, an older woman with a weary expression yet sharp eyes, shuffled through her papers. She glanced at the officer, her gaze piercing, demanding clarity. Asterisk, Officer Turner, please present your case. Asterisk, Judge Rebecca Collins commanded. Taking a deep breath, Jake stepped forward, attempting to gather his thoughts. His voice came out steady but shaky. Asterisk, Your Honor, this man matches a description provided by several witnesses regarding a series of thefts reported downtown last week. Tall black male, early 40s. It fits him to a T. Asterisk, and, asterisk, the judge replied, her eyebrow arching, waiting for him to continue. The meaning of that, and drummed loudly in the room. There was an unspoken expectation for evidence, for substance. Jake faltered, aware of the hush that had fallen over the courtroom. Marcus set his briefcase down and adjusted his tie meticulously, exuding a composed dignity that contrasted sharply with Jake's growing agitation. Asterisk, Your Honor, Asterisk Marcus began, stepping up with a tone that resonated authority. Asterisk, I was simply trying to leave my office for lunch. Officer Turner here detained me for no reason other than matching an incomplete description. There were no investigations, no questions asked, just assumptions. Asterisk. Jake's confidence wavered, and unease crept into his voice. Asterisk, the description comes from credible witnesses. Asterisk, he reiterated, his words much weakened now, as doubt seeped into his mind. Asterisk, credible witnesses. Asterisk, Marcus countered, raising his voice slightly, drawing people's attention. Asterisk, what if I tell you that descriptions like this lead to dangerous assumptions? What if it was me or an innocent man with no criminal intent? A vague description isn't enough to take away someone's liberties. Asterisk. A gasp rippled through the audience. Some members shifted in their seats, the tension thickening palpably in the room. Asterisk, Your Honor. Asterisk, Jake interjected sharply, his defensive tone creeping back. Asterisk, this is not personal. It's standard procedure. I was just following protocol. Asterisk. But now, Jake was on the back foot. Marcus didn't raise his voice, but rather let the gravity of his words resonate. Asterisk, Officer Turner, have you stopped to contemplate what procedure you followed? What standard are we upholding when judgment is clouded by bias? Look at me. What did you see when you stopped me? Just another black man in a suit. Asterisk. Judge Collins was intrigued by the shift in dynamics. She leaned forward slightly, observing closely. Asterisk, Officer Turner, how numerous were your witnesses, and what were their specific accounts? Asterisk. Jake could feel the frown pulling at his brow. A sinking realization washed over him. He hadn't taken the time to fully understand the context of his arrest. He fumbled through his notes, feeling increasingly vulnerable under the judge's piercing gaze. Asterisk. They said he was tall and black, wearing a dark jacket. Asterisk, distinguishing features, behavior, or even specific clothing. Just a vague description that could apply to hundreds of men in this city. You don't have anything that supports your case. Asterisk. The silence in the courtroom grew heavy with awe and disbelief. It was a moment of clarity that expanded beyond Jake's intentions. It reflected the systemic issues surrounding policing and racism. As Marcus took a step forward, he addressed the judge again, his voice growing stronger, more impassioned. Asterisk, Your Honor, this isn't merely a case of mistaken identity. It serves as a mirror, showcasing the failures of our judicial system. When assumptions replace evidence, when bias overrides judgment, innocent people suffer. We stand at a critical juncture. Asterisk. Jake felt as though the wind had been knocked out of him. Each word Marcus spoke wasn't just an accusation. They were truths that chiseled away at the foundation of Jake's perceived righteousness. The judge leaned back in her chair, a contemplative expression crossing her face as she absorbed Marcus's words. Asterisk, what you have done today, Officer Turner, is not just about a wrongful arrest. Asterisk, Judge Collins said, her voice measured but firm. Asterisk, it is a demonstration of how the very principles we claim to uphold can be corrupted by unexamined biases. Asterisk. Jake clenched his fists, the frustration boiling just beneath the surface as he struggled to assert his stance. Asterisk. I was trying to do my job. I didn't mean to target anyone unfairly. Asterisk, he exploded, but it felt hollow even to his ears. Asterisk, that's just it, officer. Asterisk, Marcus responded, his tone unwavering yet infused with a striking empathy. Asterisk, bias doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as instinct, as simply doing your job, but the consequences are real and devastating. This system should elevate those who uphold justice, not allow biases to slip through the cracks. Asterisk. The courtroom had fallen silent, held captive by Marcus's conviction. Jake now stood under the weight of his choices, the admiration from some of the gallery members turning into accusatory glances. The judge's expression remained stoic, but he could sense the brewing storm against him. Asterisk, Mr. Hale, you've made your point. Asterisk, the judge declared, her voice cutting through the tension. Asterisk, What would you suggest as a resolution? Asterisk. Marcus paused, taking a breath as if considering the immense weight of his next words. Asterisk, Your Honor, I am not here to pursue vengeance. What I seek is accountability. Officer Turner must understand the consequences of his actions, not just for me but for the integrity of the system he serves. Asterisk. Jake's face reddened, feeling exposed as he absorbed the implications of Marcus's call. Marcus turned back to him, eyeing him with a mix of resolve and compassion. Asterisk, Officer, did you know I was a civil rights attorney when you approached me? Asterisk. The flush of embarrassment filled Jake's cheeks as he admitted softly. Asterisk, and no, I didn't. Asterisk. Asterisk, exactly. Asterisk, Marcus said, his voice sharp but not unkind. Asterisk, because you didn't ask, and you didn't check. You didn't verify your assumptions. That instinct, what you thought was your duty, was based on blind bias that has no place in the pursuit of justice. Asterisk. The room fell into silence, a palpable sense of unease hanging thickly. Judge Collins looked thoughtfully at the two men before her, weighing the disparate but interconnected narratives of police duty and civil rights. Asterisk, Officer Turner, this case can serve as a turning point for both you and this courtroom. If we do not confront the biases we harbor, they will continue to poison the very foundation of justice. Asterisk. As the courtroom quieted down, the judge's voice echoed with a firm resolution. Asterisk, Officer Turner, we must ensure that justice does not only belong to those who fit a certain mold or physical description. We owe it to the community, to every citizen who walks these streets, to reevaluate our procedures. Asterisk. Jake swallowed down the tension that had suddenly clouded the air between them, his bravado dwindling further. Asterisk, Your Honor, I was just trying to follow protocol, to fulfill my duty. Asterisk, he stammered, but his voice was scarcely above a whisper. Asterisk, and therein lies the issue. Asterisk, Marcus replied, still holding on to the strength of his statement. Asterisk, an unquestioning adherence to procedure does not equate to justice. Such complacency allows for injustices to thrive, and soon enough, we become part of the problem. Asterisk. The judge leaned forward, a glint of determination in her eyes. Asterisk. I am ordering you to attend mandatory training on implicit bias and community engagement. In addition, Officer Turner, I believe a formal apology to Mr. Hale is warranted. Asterisk. The room buzzed as a weight of the ruling settled over everyone present. Conversations erupted in low tones. Many exchanged glances, reflecting on what they had just witnessed. Jake turned to Marcus, his pride shattered but his regret undeniable. Asterisk, I'm sorry. I didn't think. Asterisk, he muttered quietly, the sincerity evident in his ragged breath. Asterisk, apology is the first step, officer. Asterisk, Marcus acknowledged, his own gaze unwavering. Asterisk, but I hope this serves a larger purpose. This is a chance for growth, not just for you but for the many who are constantly affected by these actions. Asterisk. As the courtroom began to disperse, a few reporters lingered, eager for insights from Marcus. He remained standing tall, exuding calm even as the world seemed to shift around him. Asterisk. Justice isn't a destination. Asterisk, he stated clearly into the cameras, his voice steady and powerful. Asterisk, it's a journey we undertake together and requires us to challenge ourselves on a daily basis. Asterisk. The echoes of his words carried into the hearts of those listening, urging collective reflection and change in a system that often felt cumbersome and resistant to progress. Outside the courthouse, the sun bathed the city in warm light, illuminating Marcus as he descended the steps. A small crowd gathered at the bottom, some nodding in respect while others whispered among themselves about the drama they had just witnessed within those walls. The world around him continued its chaotic rhythm, but he paused for a moment, taking in the city streets. He understood now that this was merely a small step, an opportunity for further dialogue and deeper introspection. Asterisk, change, even the smallest kind, starts with moments like these. Asterisk, he said softly to himself, glancing down at the briefcase he clutched tightly. As he prepared to leave, He turned back toward the camera crews that lingered on the courthouse lawn, addressing everyone who might hear his words. Asterisk accountability isn't just about one officer, one courtroom, or one case. It's about all of us asking the difficult questions, refusing to settle for excuses, and demanding better for one another. Asterisk. After finishing his statement, he turned to walk away, the weight of his briefcase feeling light compared to the significance of the moment he had forged. Change would not come overnight, but he was committed. The fight for justice, his fight, was far from over. As Marcus stepped off the courthouse steps and onto the bustling sidewalk, he could sense the shift in the atmosphere around him. It was not just his victory, but the collective triumph of everyone who had rallied for justice, who understood the need to confront biases head-on. This single experience had the power to spark conversations, inspire actions, and ultimately shape a future where the scales of justice might lean in favor of understanding and inclusivity. He could sense it. The small sighs of realization hidden among the whispers in the crowd, the unknown conversations that were bound to happen later that day. As he walked down the street, he felt a surge of hope, a belief that each small victory could lead to larger reforms, nudging the system toward accountability one arrest at a time. Inside, he felt the gravitas of every person who walked these streets, opened those doors, and dared to question the very structure around them. And with every step, he whispered to himself, asterisk, justice isn't merely a concept. It's a living, breathing entity, and we must nurture it each day. Asterisk. The sun shone brightly overhead as he disappeared into the bustling city, determined to keep fighting for a better tomorrow, one where every voice mattered, and justice was a journey they would all embark upon together.